Welcome to today's episode of Print to Pixel, the podcast where we speak with marketing leaders and technologists about how omnichannel marketing is revolutionizing the way that direct mail and digital marketing work together. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform that makes direct mail marketing as easy as email. Today, we're speaking with go-to-market expert Jarie Bolander. Jari is the executive strategist and general manager of Subscriber for Decision Counsel. At Decision Counsel, he focuses on helping broadband service providers acquire customers, increase ARPU, or average revenue per user, and decrease churn by helping them build a total customer experience. Jari, welcome to Print to Pixel.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, for having me. It's great to be on the show and looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, me too. There's so much going on in the BSP world. It's a great category. It's been a big focus of ours at Postalytics, so I'm psyched to dig in with you. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about your story. You've spent the early part of your career as an engineer, focusing on things like semiconductor chips, integrated circuits, RFID technology. And you've transitioned into the marketing and go-to-market world, which I think is great because the marketing world can always use more of an engineering mindset. But I'd love to hear in your words, what are the things that kind of influenced you to transition your career and what led to you living in your current role?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts off like all great stories. I met a woman. We fell in love. We got married. And then she got sick. And she had her own firm, own PR and marketing firm for professional athletes and nonprofits and startups and stuff. And when she got sick, she's like, hey, I better buck it up, Buttercup. You got to run my business. And I'm like, I don't have a clue. I have no clue about PR marketing for professional athletes and nonprofits. Man, I was like the CEO of a metal digital health company. Like, I'm an engineer by training, like geek level, cubed, right? But like at the time the startup I was at wasn't paying me. And she's like, look, you need to take this over, and then you also need to take care of me. So I was both a caregiver and became now, got involved with marketing and PR and just like literally like dove in the deep end. Unfortunately, 15 months later, she died of leukemia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. That was 8 years ago, which is still crazy to me. But like, I was pretty good at this stuff. Honestly, it's easier in some senses than engineering, and in some senses way harder because, no one understands what you do, right? They literally are like, hey, welcome to marketing, 2-drink minimum, Adderall to the left, crying couch to the right. Like, it's nobody, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not very scientific in one sense, not very data-driven. Systems, they have them, but it's usually like from the gut, from the heart, right?
Right.
But I kind of was just fascinated by this whole idea of convincing people to look at your product. And as time goes on, I just started realizing that, the product is democratized. I mean, especially a software product. I mean, you can now build anything. I mean, shocking as that is, but like I never, you want to build something, you can. And it's more and more that the best story wins. Like, how am I going to talk about this? How do I get people to care about what I have, right? And this just fascinates me to no end. And I think it is the engineer in me that's like, okay, what experiments, what hypotheses, what designs of experiment can I do to kind of prove these things? Like, of course, I always have got this weird, spinning in my head about, how do I do this? How do I do that? And just over time, and I've been doing this now for close to 10 years now, like, not engineering, but this sales marketing consultant, go-to-market strategist, whatever we want to call it. And it's this just revelation that no one cares what you built until you make them care. and making them care is more art than science. And you just really have to figure out the best channels, the best message, the best story, and product. Don't get me wrong, product matters. Like if it doesn't work, no one's going to use it, right? But I mean, there's like 15,000 MarTech tools or it's the insanity amount. Like, how am I even supposed to figure out what to like look at, let alone buy? And you just start to realize you're like, oh, the new challenge in business is not product, it's marketing. And that's just kind of exciting in one sense. And what is also interesting, again, being an engineer, I just sometimes just sit there and like shake my head because I'm like, what? How come this isn't more reproducible? But then again, as you know, there are, it's like history. It rhymes. Like there are things that we obviously know how to do that we can do. And I found working with broadband service providers, as you mentioned, just fascinating as well. It's like, gosh, it's a great bunch of people. How can I help them?
Yeah. No, you're right. And we'll get into some of the challenges that the industry faces from a marketing perspective here as we go. But I have to say, I've done a lot of episodes, and your story is unique and powerful.
Thank you.
How a personal tragedy has really transformed your career and has opened up like this fascinating new area for you to explore and grow and focus on. So really, it's quite a story, and congratulations on all that transition. That's a big deal. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And it is fascinating. I actually wrote a book about the experience with her name was Jane, my late wife, a memoir called Ride or Die, Loving Through Tragedy, a Husband's Memoir. And part of the reason why this whole marketing stuff, I kind of latched onto it is because I love writing stories. And one of the things she said when I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, she's like, well, you're right. Okay. You'll be fine. And I'm like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? And this is before ChatGPT, and this is before all that stuff where marketing is about communicating. Communication is like the most powerful superhuman skill you can have. If you can communicate in a clear, concise, and compelling way, you're unstoppable, right? And it's funny because writing the memoir, I've written other books too, but specifically the memoir about telling your story, like really understanding like where the emotion comes from, like why should I care, And I think that sort of grounds this whole idea of marketing. Why should I care about your dumb thing? I mean, no offense, like it's like how many other people in the world make your dumb thing? It's like
right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely at the core of positioning and messaging and brand building and everything else. So you've gone through this transition. You've spent years sort of applying that engineering mindset to the storytelling notion. You've landed at Decision Counsel. Tell us about Decision Counsel and your role as general manager of Subscriber. What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So Decision Counsel is a B2B sales and marketing consulting firm. We typically deal with clients in the media data space. Calix is our customer, one of our customers. We're actually right now, as we're recording this, preparing to do Connections in October, which is their big event, which we've been doing for the past 7-8 years. I lose track. And so what we do is first and foremost, we develop go-to-market strategies. We look at the landscape ecosystem of where you play, and then we build your go-to-market strategy. So we're full service firm, primarily in, again, the media and data space, do some consumer as well. But really, the typical perfect fit for us are companies that are going through a growth, like they've stalled in growth and they need to get from like 50 million to 100 million or 100 million to 200 million or even $1 billion to $2 billion. Because usually there's a there's some sort of status quo that's preventing them from growing. And typically from the inside, you can't really tell that. And then, of course, we come in and go like, oh, yeah, well, these are like the 4 things maybe we should look at. So overall, Decision Counsel, again, is that kind of firm. And about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, we took a look at the broadband service provider vertical. And since Calix is one of our main customers, we took a look at, how can we help accelerate BSPs implementing the Calix philosophy or their ecosystem, their platform, etc. And what was abundantly clear, and I know you know this too because you're in the same industry or it's part of it, is that traditionally BSPs don't have a lot of marketing folks, almost none, I would say, comparatively to the rest of the operations. And we all know if anyone's gone to graduate school, has an MBA, like we all know, like the numbers are the numbers, right? Like if you want to do true marketing, they're just percentages, right? You have to build a team that's going to support your revenue and your infrastructure, et cetera. And we found that, it's hard for these BSPs to implement some of these, best-in-class marketing from an automation point of view, from a messaging point of view, like all these things, because they just lack the resources. And so Subscriber was born, and Subscriber is a agency within Decision Counsel, again, a wholly owned like subsidiary, that all we do is focus on helping build growth engines for broadband service providers, which includes all the infrastructure, connecting to the Calix ecosystem, connecting to the Postalytics ecosystem, really trying to build automation and growth systems so that they don't have to worry about like the tech and all that sort of stuff. Because one of the major challenges is there's a lot of tech out there, right? I mean, even just look at AI. Just adoption of AI is just nutty. Like it changes every week, It's hard for folks to like absorb that. I mean, even folks like us who are like knee deep in it, there's only so much of that I can absorb. So, we build offers and we build programs to help them take advantage of all this technology because, they're getting to a point in their builds and broadband where, growth is becoming harder and harder.
Not as easy as laying down fiber and, just signing people up hand over fist, for sure. Folks are working harder. And there's more competition at the end of the day. Let's dig in on the industry a little bit. The broadband service provider industry is or has exploded with new entrants. And there's new fiber getting laid down all over the country by these new companies. Mm-hmm. I'd imagine from the position where you sit that you're able to see some challenges that are fairly consistent across a lot of these companies. And so what are the top few challenges that you're seeing from a broadband service provider go-to-market perspective that are pretty consistent across the industry?
Yeah, very astute question because it's taken us a while to sort of figure out these, call them like macro trends, I guess. I think the first one is that, and I like to call this the easy growth is over, to your point about just lay fiber and sign people up hand over fist. Markets are becoming more and more competitive, even at the local level. So 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, you just would, you're a rural provider. You built the power lines. You're the power company. Now you're going to offer broadband. Like that's great. You build it out, and then these massive tier one players come in. The people we shall not name, and they come in and they start taking over because you've built the market out. Right? You literally like seeded it for them. Then they come in and undercut you on price because they've got massive deep pockets. There's this they're a juggernaut. I think Calix used to call them the giants, these massive giants. They're just coming in trying to crush you, right? So that's a pretty major macro trend. The industry is starting to become way more competitive, even at the local level. And just, I think the last statistic I saw is like there's only maybe 50% of the US that's fibered now. Some of that's just due to just, like infrastructure, hard to lay fiber, but there's still room to grow. But as a local provider, if you were like the only one in the valley or in your local community, you're now starting to get competition. And in some cases, there could be 3, 4, even 7 competitors in your space. So that means you got to think differently about how you go to market and your products. And so I think the second trend is the idea of people even know what a gigabit is, 2 gigabit. They don't even care, right? A lot of the time they would sell what we would call speeds and feeds. And it's just like, 300 meg, 500 meg, 1 gig. And you're like, as a consumer, okay, is bigger number better? I don't really know. But okay, in the easy growth phase, that wasn't that hard. But now people want to see the value. Like, what is the value, the actual value? I've got 7 different things I can choose from. Show me the value. It's like cell phones. I mean, all the cell phones are the same. It's reliability of the network. It's unlimited data. Like, it's things, these value-based offers is what Calix calls them, and obviously what we call them, that really have to differentiate yourself in a rapidly commoditized market. And honestly, it's starting to become rapidly commoditized. So how do you differentiate? And we're starting to see more and more where the differentiation, the value that you bring to your subscribers, how you go to market matters more than I've got a gigabit ether and fiber optic network. I mean, okay, everyone's got fiber. Like, what does that even mean to me? Right. And these whole lifestyle offers, etc., really start to matter more and more. And you see that when you start seeing your churn go up, your ARPU go down, and your subscriber acquisition go down. You're like, why aren't they coming? You're like, because they've got options and you're not telling the better story. And that's probably the bigger overarching thing where, to your point about look, it was easy when you were the only game in town. But when there's other competition, you have to rise above the noise and you got to convince people that you're the one to go with. And the good thing about local broadband, rural, community-based broadband service providers is they've got a lot of value baked in. And they've got, local support. You go to school with the technicians' kids. You see them in church. You keep run into them in to the coffee shop. They've been in, people care about that. They really want to build community. And if you really start to understand that, start to showcase that, and really start to be more, what value do I bring to my subscribers? You start to reverse the trends that we start to see. It's the ones that don't do that and then realize too late. You're like, little too late, But yeah, I think those are what I would see as the macro trends. I mean, regionally, it's going to be different if you're in urban or suburban or rural. There's just every little market's different. Like, there's no really one size fits all. But if you were to look at the theme or as history is, the sort of rhythm of it, as you get more competition and this starts to become more of a commodity or even a utility, which is like power, water, sewer, gas. Internet's a utility now. You deny that, but that's the way it is. That means it's commodity, and as commodity prices start to depress, you start to go down to the lowest common denominator. If you want to not have that, you have to add value on top of that fundamental service. And that's just the laws of economics. I don't dictate that. That's just the way markets work. Right. And it's not like I'm some genius. It's like, no. I could look at every single market on the planet, and this is what happens. So,
well, it's so true. And I'll add a little bit on to what you've discussed here in terms of sort of the large entrants coming in, the speeds and feeds, kind of generic positioning and messaging that's out there, and then this kind of rapid commoditization. I think from where Postalytics sits, in terms of managing, a high volume of BSP direct mail, where you sit in terms of looking at the overall strategy, story, positioning, brand building, they're slightly different. We see a real lack of personalized approaches to the marketing, where part of it's data issue. Some of the data that's being used is like it's just an address, right? And we've got broadband and you're an address, so sign up, right? Well, you're not an address. You're an elderly couple that wants to be on FaceTime with their grandkids, or you're a growing family of 6 people, and kids are jumping into they're online after school for 3 hours, and if you don't have the right setup, it's going to drag your whole internet down. Or you're a professional couple working from home and you're on video conferences all day, which is just sucking bandwidth down, right? So there's all of this miss that we're seeing out there in what is presented in the campaigns, because they just look at this data that is being used to drive this stuff as just, literally an address with not even a name, just an address. It's really hard to differentiate and to build a story if your understanding of the audience is simply the physical address of the building that exists.
So true, especially in the age of AI, right? It's not hard anymore to personalize things. It's almost to the point where you can have too much personalization depending on how you go. And I think the thing that we find is that it needs to be authentic. Part of the reason why rural or community-based broadband service providers actually have a competitive advantage is because they're real people. Not to say that the big guys aren't. Look, they provide a service, but when you call them up, you don't get someone in their local area. You get someone somewhere else that you may have a hard time understanding, or that doesn't understand, just doesn't understand you.
Not somebody whose kids are at the same school as yours, and been part of the community for 30 years, and
grew
probably
up there, went to high school,
and the same people, and
right, and there's power in that, because there's power in community, and people want to invest in their community. They really do want to build a better community. That's why they live there. That's the reason why a lot of these BSPs got into business. That's the reason why they try to do the best they can. And really their competitive weapon is customer support and service. They just do that better because they care more. Right. And that should be the same way they do their marketing. Their marketing should be targeted to be as personalized and as authentic as they can. And, to your point, seeing all these generic things, that stuff just doesn't work anymore. 5 years ago, if you were doing digital marketing and you subscribed, or you were all in on the predictable revenue, thing where you could just throw some ads, get an SDR, boom, you're done. It's easy, easy growth. That doesn't work anymore. And because of AI and because of saturation of all these channels, anyone can do that. I need to get a list of all the people in MarTech that's a CMO at a Fortune 5,000 company or whatever on their I just instantly got all their contact info. Not even hard.
Right.
It's cheap comparatively with the way it used to be. So what am I going to do? Spray and pray all the I have another tool, blah, blah, blah. They don't, they're saturated, right? Part of the reason I find what you guys do interesting is that even though people are physical mail is old school, or direct mail is old school, there is just something about getting something that's thoughtful from someone. I may not check my mail all the time because I got a lot of my stuff, obviously do all my bills and stuff online, but it's another channel to get awareness. And it's again, we talked a little bit about before we hit record, about brand and the importance of brand. Now I think brand is coming back to be like the most important thing. It used to not be. Used to be a dirty word. You could never, not even 2 years ago, talk to a CMO or talk to anyone about, oh, we're going to build brand. Like, whoa, we can't do that. We're going to build demand generations. You know, you're like, it's just a different word, basically. But what they were really saying was, we want to connect the ROI of all our marketing spend through demand generation and demand capture.
And brand doesn't necessarily mean a Super Bowl ad, right?
Right. It doesn't. Exactly, right? Well, that stuff don't work no more anyway. You know, so, and then the other thing I thought was always fascinating, because again, like, especially from the B2B side, because that's where most of my experience is, and now I'm obviously more experienced now on the B2C side. You're like, oh, then how come Coca-Cola spends so much money on, like, it's Coca-Cola. Like, they know Coca-Cola. Well, when you're thirsty, you want Coca-Cola top of mind. Like, when you want internet, you should be top of mind. That is just classic brand building, marketing, omni-channel. And it has to be omni-channel. That one size just never fits all, because it's all about thoughts, touch points. And even nowadays, like, and I don't know if you guys see this, I'd love your thoughts on this. Even the way people research buying things now is totally different. And we're seeing this more on the B2B side. People don't even contact sales until they've got the short list. And if you're not on the short list, you're not getting contacted. And there's only 3 of you on the short list. It used to not be that way. It used to be like, oh, let's like gather. Now, absolutely, AI and all the different mechanisms where you can do research have completely upended all that. So I'm just curious, you know, how you guys see this at Postalytics, because, you know, you're more of a, you know, the traditional channel, like, you know, like the Gary Halberts of the world, right? Who is like one of the most famous copywriters or direct mail copywriters. Like, you know, that dude would crush it. He was sending letters, sending stand, sending pennies and stuff.
Yeah. Well, what we have observed, and this is a long-term trend. This is not just recent with AI, but, you know, in marketing, when everybody is rushing into a particular channel, that channel has a period of time where it has a real competitive advantage. And then very quickly, as the world finds out about it, it gets overwhelmed and crowded and expensive. Mm-hmm. And so that's really, I think, the story of every new marketing channel that comes around. There's a window of time that is shrunk, mm-hmm, where there's a competitive advantage to be playing in that category, and then it gets commoditized to a large degree while the price goes up. So performance goes down and it gets more expensive. So it's kind of a double whammy that happens. And then what you see are channels that are sustainable over a long period of time, that offer consistent performance, that other folks start ignoring because of the silver bullet that is the story of the day. And so what we've seen with direct mail over a long period of time is that the number of things that arrive in your mailbox has plummeted, because we're getting our financial statements and credit card statements, right, doing it all online. We're not sending letters to our relatives, and personal correspondence has completely disappeared from the mail stream. And so while all that volume has left the mailbox, the things that are there resonate more. It's very simple, right? Like, you might get 8 things in your mailbox today. I get 8 emails the first 10 minutes of each day.
Just imagine if they didn't filter for spam, how many you'd get.
I mean, it's completely overwhelming. Digital ads, like everything is just noise out there. And so finding a way to cut through the noise and deliver a message that you actually have to hold in your hand and make a decision as to what to do with it. I'm going to throw it out. Great. I've held it in my hand and I looked at it and I see, oh, it's that broadband company again. Well, I don't have time to deal with it. Oh, but it came again next month. You know what? I'm going to put this aside. I want to get to this. I talk to my wife about it next week.
Yeah.
There's just a different dynamic that is associated with a physical thing that someone has sent you in a channel that is not crowded.
Right.
And so, to the extent that we can use data to drive personalization, to automate the process, to simplify the whole thing, get rid of the noise around card stock and Pantone colors and, the things that the direct mail nerds of the last 40 years spend all their days worrying about, right?
Direct mail nerds.
Believe it or not, there are these direct mail nerds out there.
Every discipline has got those, right?
Absolutely. And at the highest level, of course, these things matter, but it's way down the line, right? Like, just get there, get a great message in front of people. So we see direct mail being adopted by folks for those reasons, and it's successful for those reasons. And now there's all this bridge to the online world embedded in direct mail with personalized QR codes and things that can take you there, to take you online, to finish a process, self-serve, or pick up the phone, call that person at the customer service line that, whose daughter goes to school with my daughter, right? Yeah. All that stuff is being driven off of these programs. And at the same time, you are building brand. And it's an undertold story for direct mail that when you put those things in front of people on a consistent basis, you are doing the Coke thing, slowly and surely. You're registering this name, this image, this symbol, these colors over and over again. And then, you know what? I'm tired. I get a hard time. I call up my broadband company and I'm dealing with somebody who I can barely understand and they're just reading off a script, or I'm getting an AI agent, I call up now, right? Yeah. This is so impersonal. It doesn't mean anything to me. Right. And so, this company, they've been hitting me over and over again. I remember them now, right? Yeah. Like that happens when you're consistently putting a message in front of somebody. So,
absolutely. And it is fascinating what you mentioned about the volume of mail going down. Therefore, what is in your mailbox, you will tend to pay more attention to. Like any channel that's saturated, also good point. Effectiveness goes down, cost goes up, because obviously there's supply and demand. There's I think Google ads now are getting significantly higher. You look at SEO channels becoming decimated because of AI answers. There's just the thing about marketing I find interesting is that there's fundamental rules that, to your point, that just consistently over time are this is the way it works. And then there are these opportunistic channels. Used to be ads was an opportunistic channel. Used to be SEO. Now it's AI. There's all these things that come and go. And then as they become saturated, they become, hey, you don't know the trick anymore. And you have to move on. You have to change.
Exactly.
And that's what I find fascinating. What worked today is not going to work tomorrow. But fundamentally, brand building is, I think, the thing that stands the test of time.
For sure.
There's a reason why Coors and Coca-Cola and Amazon and, United Airlines spend billions of dollars on, ads that are what's my call to action? Nothing. You just need to know that I'm here.
Right.
What's the feeling I get when I drink a Coca-Cola? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, it's like a fundamental. It's just interesting because I think tech, since I've been in tech for the last, my whole career, tech is starting to see that and they're freaking out because the marketers in tech for the last 20, if you were a marketer in technology companies, SaaS, B2B, whatever, for the last 20 years, you had it easy. Performance, predictable performance, predictable revenue, all those buzzword bingos, that stuff worked. Don't work anymore. Now what?
Right. Exactly.
And that freaks people out because you're just going to throw more money down the pit. You gotta really think. And this is why I love what you guys do and a lot of the things in the broadband service industry, because it's basically a home services category, right? So this is things that is a consumer, play. But what I find about what you guys do and what we're working on with some other folks is there's no reason why we can't, bring the technological advances to this industry that's been in the SaaS and technology for decades, but also realize that it's the block and tackling. It's like fundamental marketing 101. It ain't rocket science. It's just hard. And you got to learn to do, it again. And I think that's what I find is so fascinating and reason why, partnering with folks like you and others to sort of build these best practices, this, this ecosystem, this, the standardization may not be the right word, but this is how this works. And all these folks, we all kind of agree because we all know. And if you want to tap into this, pick one of us and we're all going to consistently, be there for you. And that's why I think this is such a fascinating market. One, the local, rural, suburban, like all the regional BSPs are just very good people, fundamentally sound humans. They're trying to provide a service for their community. And they've got a lot of competition and they got a lot of evil people, quote unquote, going after them. So they need guys like us. They need the stone cold assassins to come in and help them look, we do this for other things. We can do it for you. So maybe assassin's not the right word. That's probably a bad way to put it, but they need the ringer, they need folks like us that understand this stuff. And
yeah, no question.
Really important.
On that, we talk a little bit about partnership and we're both partners with Calix.
Mm-hmm.
Postalytics, we rolled out a integration with the Calix Engagement Cloud a couple of months ago. It's been a huge hit. We've got so much interest in Postalytics has been generated by this partnership with Calix. Mm-hmm. You guys partner with Calix. Let's talk a little bit about that. The kind of view of this growing ecosystem and how Calix can help these BSPs, with their go-to-market strategy, through your work, through partnerships like what we've done with them. Let's hit on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Calix has a platform, right? So they built a platform that allows BSPs to both run the hardware and the software. And you mentioned Engagement Cloud is one such part of their platform. And building out partnerships is a critical piece of that, because a platform is something other people can build on. If you cannot build on it, it's not a platform. Full stop. I'm sorry, that's the definition. I didn't make that up. I'm not a genius or anything, but so part of, again, talking with you guys, both as a Calix partner, but also as just a general partner for the industry, is to build ways to easily connect to each other. Because if you build a tool that is in isolation nowadays, that's the kiss of death, because no one's going to use it. There's going to be a point where agents are just going to be talking to the tools, and it's just literally you're going to sit there and go, yeah, approved, and that's it. You're not going to pull up a GUI. You may, but once you get this stuff going, it's this stuff's going to just go on its own, and that's reality. That's going to happen very rapidly. So the folks that don't have open platforms that we can build on, it won't work. Just full stop. That also includes systems. So it also includes folks like us who build the growth systems. or have standard, like, hey, these are the tools we use. This is how you connect them together. Even methodology needs to be open. Because again, the difference between like us as an agency and someone else as an agency, really, I mean, yeah, we could be smarter in one thing or another thing. But overall, if we all kind of agree that these are the playbooks we're running, it's really up to the BSP, the customer, who you want to work with, right? And I think as that transparency builds, it's just going to be better and better for the end customer, for the BSP, because a lot of times now, what we see or what they see is like they don't know what's out there. They get confused and or is overwhelming. So even Engagement Cloud is a fantastic tool. It can sometimes be overwhelming. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And like with you guys, as you mentioned, sending direct mail through it is gold mine for them. Like, oh, I can do this? Like, that's a click, go. Like, there's no, like, you have to make that easier because they don't have the resources. And sometimes there's just expertise. There's a gap. Like, I don't know how to use your tool yet, but eventually I will. So I do think, what we're going to see, I think more and more, and Calix is going down this path, which they've been consistent on over the years. They're building a platform and they want to enable their partners to build on it so that they can then give the customers that we all service the best experience. And the folks that get on board with that are going to win, and the folks that don't won't. I got to work together. Even if you're frenemies, you got to work together. It's like you have to.
Yeah. No, I think that there are a couple of things there that you touched on that are, I think, really important. First is like this lack of understanding of best practices or playbooks or, things that we know work. Mm-hmm. And, so there's kind of a lack of awareness in a lot of these companies. And, Calix is a big enough player to have a platform with a big enough system mm-hmm. and customers and influence to actually move the needle mm-hmm. there for the industry, which is super exciting. Mm-hmm. I think the other part is that this is an industry that has underinvested in marketing personnel and expertise. Yes. I think we can all safely say that
we're all unanimous on that.
Given your background, right? These are engineering-driven companies, right? That are
engineering and
often
customer support. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are companies that are about building the equipment and about, laying a great network. And there's, for good reason, it's not easy, right? No. Takes years. Yeah. Takes lots of money. Yeah. It's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge then is, well, once you got it, now you got to compete. Yep. Right. And I think the companies have struggled in building out depth mm-hmm. in their marketing teams. Mm-hmm. And so there's I think this great opportunity for Calix, for Decision Counsel, your subscriber group, for Postalytics, others that are committed to this industry to make this industry successful, to try to bring more resources and collective understanding about those best practices and bring them into the space.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I generally feel that you're spot on. And I think it's a lack of understanding of marketing standards within the industry that really limits growth and success. Like just the simple fact of having like benchmark studies, which I know Calix is working on. There's and others, but just like marketing best practices that are industry wide, not just one person. I mean, because obviously Calix has got marketing best practices. They do. You can see that all over. But I mean, as a community of folks that help BSPs market, all of us should get together and be like, hey, we know this stuff works because it's what we're doing, and provide that, because again, I think there's just a lot of lack of transparency. A lot of them, like these are tough decisions for people, because they're like, okay, we got to spend more. Like, how am I going to justify that to my general manager? Easy to justify, I'm going to lay more fiber. Easy to justify, I got to, like that. Those numbers are very consistently, like, it's not hard to do. How do I justify marketing? Like, the ROI in marketing is like this voodoo magic, I don't know. Yeah. I always used to say, if I'm off by 2x, I'm doing great. Like, what do you mean? That's not engineering. I'm like, that's reality. I can show you the distribution. Like, I'm sorry, but I wish it wasn't that way, but we have to deal with reality. So yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that's what we're trying to figure out. I know we've been talking to your folks over there, because I think it's just good for everyone to know this is what you should expect. These are best practices, not only from individuals, but as a community, broadband, BSP marketing or go-to-market experts, so that you can then benchmark yourself against that, so you kind of know where you're at. And then as a service provider, it's like, I think the other thing is, as a service provider, now I'm held to the standard. Like, okay, well, this is what you should expect. And if I'm not delivering that, then we got to do something different. And I think that's just good for everyone. I always feel that if you know what to expect, and then you're not meeting expectations, if that is well defined, and I'm saying like reasonable expectations. I'm not saying like nutsoid, because there's always people that are like, oh, we want to do blah. You're like, where the hell did that number come from? Like, would you pull it out of thin air? Like, no, this is the distribution, guys. Like, you're smart, but you're probably not as smart as like what I mean? Like, this is what benchmarking is all about. So yeah, I'm encouraged. I think we're going to see a lot more from Calix as well. They're always pretty good at leading the charge. Like, they've got a lot of great stuff going on, and they're good people. They understand this. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys, working with Calix and others to just sort of, I think we got to just take this to the next level, and I think the industry is at a point where competition is starting to heat up.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's
for sure
reality. Yeah. Like, how are you going to deal with that? You have to do better marketing.
Exactly. At the end of the day, that's where competition starts.
Yes.
Is in the marketing.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
I think we should wrap. We've got the Calix Connections conference that is coming up in a few weeks.
Yes.
You guys are putting it on, right? So
we are knee deep.
You're at the heart of this. Yeah.
We're at the heart of it. That's true.
And it's really, I think, becoming a great industry event where
100%.
Everybody can come together and actually talk about and take some actions to move the needle in some of these ways that we're discussing to help like the whole broadband service provider industry improve, get better, and ultimately have better performance. So, I guess first, for everybody out there listening in the broadband space, if you're coming to Connections, look up Jari, look up Decision Counsel, look up Postalytics. We're all going to be there.
Yep.
And, we want to talk to you. We want to help. We want to assist in this transition in this more competitive world where marketing is actually going to matter a lot more. And there, as we've been discussing, there's some things that we know work. So let's work on those. And then I'm excited to work with you, Jari, with the folks at Calix, with other service providers in this category that are committed to this space to build out some of these best practices and to as you said, even if we're competing, this is much bigger than any one of us in our little deal by deal competition. This is about, about growing the pie for everybody here. So
it's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah, for sure. So if folks aren't able to go to the Calix Connections event, which is in Vegas, right? In October, how else can they get in touch with you and the folks at Decision Counsel?
Yeah, so there's decisioncounsel.com. That's the main company. The specific BSP division is subscribergtm.com. You can take a look at that. Give us, we'll be at Connections as well. Subscriber, we'll have a booth there. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. If you're there, come by, say hello. And it's to your point. I love what you said about how Calix is just bringing together the industry in a great way. This has become, I think, one of the preeminent events in the BSP space. And that's because they've been working really hard to do that. It's just a very, thoughtful, inspiring, and energizing conference. And I do think, if you're a BSP marketer or general manager and you're listening to this, you're probably feeling some of these things we've just talked about. And you're not alone. You're not alone. And obviously, Dennis and I would love to help out. But just, I think what you should really take away from this conversation is, really sit down and think, okay, what are your growth goals? Where's growth going to come from? What's your competitive advantage? I think you'll know that in your heart. And then really figure out, okay, well, the theme for Connections this year is new game, new rules. 100%.
Perfect.
In so many different ways.
Yes.
So,
No,
anyway.
absolutely perfect. Jari, thank you so much for joining us today. Unbelievable story of how you've arrived at where you're at. You're now in a position to really have a big influence here to help the broadband service provider industry kind of move forward into this new age. And we're thrilled to collaborate with you and the folks at Calix to assist with that. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to Print to Pixel. We'll look forward to seeing you very soon.